Homes in Atlanta are sitting on the market for months, and it is shocking. For example, this home in Marietta that's been on the market for 108 days. Also, this home in Canton that's been on the market for 156 days. And this one in Douglasville that's been on the market for 311 days. There are a few main reasons why we see so many homes in Metro Atlanta sitting on the market for so long, and I want to talk about why these homes are sitting on the market and what we can do to take advantage of this buyer's market. One of the biggest reasons why we see so many homes on the market for so long is that sellers have overpriced their homes. This is one of the most obvious ones. Sellers are still thinking that this is the market of 2021 or 2022 when everybody was overbidding on homes, and so many sellers still think that they can get way more money for their home than it's actually worth. For example, this home in Hardage Farms subdivision is currently for sale for $900,000. But in the same neighborhood, there was a recent home just sold for $800,000. And there's currently one for sale in that same neighborhood, Hardage Farm subdivision, currently for sale for $735,000. And so this is obviously way overpriced at $900,000, and there's no wonder why this home has been on the market for so long. Another big reason why so many homes are on the market is obviously the interest rates. Right now, interest rates are at about 6 to 7%, and this is something that many buyers are still getting used to. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living. We put out videos every week all about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the surrounding suburbs of Atlanta. One of my favorite places to find out what the current interest rate is on a website called mortgagenewsdaily.com. So if you ever are curious about what the current mortgage rates are, this is one of the best sources to find that. Now, keep in mind that this website is going to have an average interest rate. Many lenders, actually all lenders, have their own interest rates, but they all should be hovering right around that average that you see on Mortgage News Daily. And so the best thing is really to call and talk to multiple lenders to get the best interest rate. One big reason why so many homes are still on the market is the number of homes that are currently for sale. There is so much competition when it comes to homes for sale. There are way more sellers than there are buyers. Years ago, there was kind of this idea that there was a shortage of homes for sale, and that's true. Maybe like a few years ago, there was a shortage of homes for sale, but this is not the case anymore. There are way more homes for sale now, and so because we have far less buyers, because of things like the interest rates and the prices of homes, there are way more sellers than there are buyers. And so this means that you're not having to overpay for a home. It also means that sellers will be willing to pay for the buyer's closing costs. You can get more time for an inspection period. So there are so many advantages now for buyers because there are so many homes for sale. Currently in Marietta, there are 670 homes for sale. In Lawrenceville, there are 531 homes for sale, and the city of Atlanta alone has 2,500 homes for sale at the time of filming this video. If you're thinking about moving to Metro Atlanta, or you just have any questions about what it's like to live here, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm a local real estate agent here in the Metro Atlanta area. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. But one of the biggest reasons, hands down, why there are so many days on market for these homes, or why these homes are still on the market for so long, is because of the poorly presented listings. If we go back to that home in Douglasville with 311 days on market and we take a look at the pictures, we can see exactly a perfect example of these poorly presented listings. If you look at the pictures, you can kind of see that they aren't very good. They're not really taken at a good angle. They're kind of blurry. Even some of the lights are kind of shining too brightly and they're out of focus. And so these pictures are certainly going to negatively affect the home's ability to sell. Also, with that home in Douglasville, you can see that some of the pictures say virtually staged. This is a common strategy or a common idea among many listing agents. They use this virtual staging instead of actually putting staging furniture in the home. But while it seems like a good idea at first, what I regularly see with buyers is that we kind of assume that the home is going to look that way when we get there, and then we get there in person and we see that the home is in fact not staged. So it's a very disappointing feeling when we see all of that furniture and all of that staging only to get to the home and see that it's completely empty. It really has this like cold feel to the home, lifeless, soulless feel to the home when you see it completely vacant. In addition to the poor pictures, you also have things like sellers who are not doing remodels for their home and they have 30 or 40-year-old flooring or 30 or 40-year-old windows or, all kinds of like decorations and styles and themes that were popular maybe like in the 80s, and they're now trying to sell their home in 2025 with these older style home. Like laminate countertops is like one of the worst ones. Nobody wants laminate countertops anymore. And so when we see these kinds of things in a home that are not upgraded, it certainly makes it more difficult for those homes to sell. One big reason why homes stay on the market for so long here in Metro Atlanta is that sellers still have this like unrealistic expectation of what it's like to sell a home. They think that their home is going to sell very quickly when in fact in this buyer's market, it takes much more to sell your home. They have to do upgrades. They've got to do modernizing to these homes. And so because we have a lot of these homes in Metro Atlanta from like the 70s and the 80s, some of these sellers with unrealistic expectations think that they don't have to do any modernizing or any upgrading. And so those homes are certainly staying on the market for a very long time. There's also some sellers who are just kind of testing the market. And while they aren't very motivated to sell their home, they're still putting their home on the market to see if they can get the price that they're looking for. They know that it's unrealistic, but they're just kind of trying out to see if they can get that price. And so that's another big factor why we're seeing so many homes stay on the market for so long. Another reason is as we approach the end of the summer, this is obviously when the kids are going to go back to school. Like right around the beginning of August here in Metro Atlanta is when the public school year starts. And so when we get to that point, that's really when like a lot of buyers are already settled. People who were looking for homes during the summertime before the school year starts, they have already found a home. And so come August, September, right around that time is really when the housing market starts to slow down significantly, especially as we approach the holidays. If we get close to things like Thanksgiving or Christmas, these homes are going to sit on the market even longer. Another big reason why we see homes still on the market is the amount of new construction. This is really driving up the amount of homes that are for sale, which makes it so that there is more competition among sellers. There's a lot of new construction in areas like South Fulton or Henry County, also Paulding County, so cities like Powder Springs and Dallas. In the city of Canton, we're seeing a lot of new construction and Cumming. And so these cities that are farther out away from the city of Atlanta that have a lot of undeveloped land, they are getting a lot of new construction communities, which is driving up that average days on market for listings. I'd say another big reason why we have these homes for sale for so long is that this might just be the new norm. If you think about the way it was maybe 10 or 20 years ago, it was kind of more normal for homes to sit on the market for 30 to 45 days before going under contract. And so while 120 days is not normal, it's no longer the case where you have homes going under contract in 2 or 3 days the way it was in 2021 or 2022. It's just kind of more normal for homes to stay on the market until they find the right buyer for 30 to 45 days. And so it may just be that we're back to that kind of standard of 30 to 45 days for homes to sell. One of the biggest factors for whether or not you're going to move to Metro Atlanta really has to do with the cost of living living here. If you come from an area where the cost of living is higher than Metro Atlanta, then of course living here and potentially earning the same income is going to be a net positive, and that's something that everybody wants to go for. But if you live in a part of the country where the cost of living is much lower than Metro Atlanta, then obviously it might not make sense to make the move here. And so to help you understand whether or not making the move is worth it, I've made an entire video outlining the monthly costs of living in Atlanta. You can check it out right here. I'll see you in the next one.